do, 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 do.
And here we are.
And we are back live with the internet. We're back with our telethon over the weekend as we are doing. I thank you for earlier, as it is. And so we're welcoming it. And today we have Cloud, the newly released album Misconception. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. How's everybody doing out there?
Absolutely. And so he's sharing part of this afternoon with us as we go through the telethon, raising kind of awareness and energy for our community and everything that is happening within that community.
Yes, yes. And thank you for having me on. This really is a great thing that you guys have put together. And, you know, I'm really glad to have been invited to be a part of this. So
absolutely. And originally the intention was going to do lots of broadcasting, and we are doing lots of broadcasting, far more. Boy, the internet's a little brittle and fragile these days, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's practically broken with so many people home on quarantine and all of that. There's a lot of bandwidth being pulled, you know. So
I just learned that Zoom, which has become one of the big winners in the game, went from 10 million people on March 1st to 300 million a few days ago.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into having that kind of growth of the site, you know? So
absolutely. And of course, we're using it to maximum effect because right now we have people doing readings out there. If you want a reading, you go to Corellian.net and look at the pages. We're doing broadcasting from the same network as well as running. And if you want to hang out with the psychics, we are also running a additional page, which is for basically the lounge.
Yes.
On top of it. So you can sit and talk with them. And you can find those links at Witchful International at their page group or on Corellian Hub, and other people are sharing if you're special friends out to the lounge. So come and join us there if you want to as well. But so how's your album doing? We talked to you at the Pagan Coffee.
Well, it's not doing that great sales wise, which is fine. I'm getting a lot of listens and a lot of plays and everything. But it's to be expected, you know. Just starting out, debut album. I'm one of very few pagan hip hop artists that are around, so it makes sense for it to take some time to grow some roots and everything. So, but we're optimistic. We're doing well, and you know, I'm happy with the sales that I've gotten. You know, I mean, it's a blessing every time somebody, you know.
Absolutely. And so, and you're also doing yeah, I see that. No, it's telling me your internet is unstable. Yeah, we know that. The internet is an unstable place. We all are. It's a bit of the Wild West, but we've been out here and we've been talking a lot about it. And so we know a little bit about you, but why don't we go ahead, and I see you're set up too as well. So I'm enjoying that. So how's your reception been, other than the album sales? But I mean, has excuse me, soda. I noticed that you're getting podcasts. People are listening to you, getting more attention. How's that been?
Yeah, it's actually kind of surreal, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't really planning on all of it happening as fast as it did. But it's humbling, you know, for me to have people reaching out to me to do podcasts, sit down and talk with them about the album and everything. And it's definitely exciting at the same time, though, you know. Like, I'm really, really happy with the growth and everything. But you see, the thing with the album is it's more about the message behind the album than it is with the money for me. So it's really good to be getting some exposure to get my word that I was trying to portray from the album out there, you know? So
absolutely.
That means more to me than the sales and the stats, you know?
Well, isn't that music? You do music for the sake of the music, not for the sake of the finances.
Exactly.
And I know that's really hard sometimes when people are looking at the bottom of a bucket or something of that nature.
Yeah, all artists create art because they want to. It's their form of expression. Whether you're performing music or you're painting or writing, whatever it is, it's their form of expression. And there are very few that are blessed to be able to turn that into a business for themselves. You know, so
absolutely. Absolutely, it's very difficult to do so. But since we're talking about music, I see you're set up. Can you play?
I was thinking of maybe playing one or two while we were here in this
I
hour.
think that would be
Just kind of do a couple tracks, and maybe I'll dust off the old acoustic, you know. Um,
yeah, absolutely.
I was doing a bunch of sound checks yesterday and everything, so I really hope that it picks up well enough. Because right now we're going open air on a cell phone, running through my PA in my attic.
I love it.
It's rigged a little bit. I am struggling from a perpetual case of being broke, and so we're working on what we got. You know, I made sure that I got myself set up to be able to do live shows and everything, but this isn't exactly what I had in mind. But I mean, talking about the psychic fair, the telethon, everything that we're doing here to help out the readers, to help out the Brilliant Education Ministries, and everything that we're doing here, you know, one thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about too is how a lot of our pagan musicians have been affected by this. You know, there are pagan musicians out there that count on the festival circuit, being able to tour and, you know, being playing live shows. That's where most of them make their living. And so now, with everything being shut down, there's been a lot of struggles behind that. There's been a lot of our musicians struggling. And, you know, I see this in pagan music groups that I'm in and stuff like that. And one of the things that a lot of musicians have turned to doing is doing live concerts. And I just think it's awesome the way that we can turn something that's so negative into something positive and still be able to reach our fan bases and everything like that. I mean, if you go off of here right now, which we don't want you to, because we want you to get readings, we want you to help out. But Dan the Bard is playing a live concert as we speak right now on Facebook Live. You know, it is to be able to do this virtually, it leaves a lot of open doors for a lot of people to gain exposure and to relate back to their fan bases in times like this. So it's really awesome to me that that is a thing, you know, or that we could put this, you know, that you guys put this 100-hour long fair together. You know, it's just like having these tools at our exposure. It's really, it says something for the people that are organizing these kinds of events. The musicians holding their own live concerts, you guys throwing festivals like this, and then, you know, like 3 Gates is going to be online, you know, Witchfest USA is going to be online, like all of these festivals and everything that are going to this format, to be able as a community to still communicate and probably reach more people, because not everybody can go to New York for Witchfest, you know, so it's doing worldwide at that point.
And certainly we have done some of the worldwide here this week, in the sense that we have had terrific readers who have gone. We have Reverend Pooh from the Philippines. We have some from Europe out there. So we have a wide range of it. This is us trying to we're trying to test the system in the best ways we can. Because I think the musicians and everything else, and I think when we get back to festivals, I think there's going to be some opportunities for some live broadcasting from some of these festivals, both as a way for them to earn a little extra revenue and, you know, to kind of make up for this stuff, but also the idea of basically sharing to more people. And I especially see that true, not so much of the workshops, because workshops are a different thing, you know, because they are experiential, but I certainly could see the Starwood stage or some of these stages at these festivals, especially the night concerts, still having just as many people in the crowd, but being also filmed like a Who concert or anything else out to the public. I don't see any reason why we can't be able to do that when we get back to festivals.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I did a whole bunch of sound checks yesterday to try and get ready for this little festival here that we're throwing, this nice fair here, you know, and it's for the readers, you know, it's for the readers, it's for our community. So who am I to deny that, you know? So I made sure I put some extra work in to try and get to this point. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are probably watching this that have absolutely no idea who I am. And that's fine.
That means all the more people they can get to know you.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things that I look forward to, and to be able to network and to be able to meet people, you know, and to be able to work within the community. That's what my ultimate goal is for doing music and all of that, you know. And yeah, I do pagan hip hop music. Yeah, it's that's something that I do to kind of bridge the gap between the mundane and the magical world. You know, it's something that maybe people that don't practice the craft might be able to relate to the ideas through music. It's kind of a, you know, it's a gamble, but hey, why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you going to share with us?
All right, so I got a couple songs off my album queued up. I have an entire set list on this thing, so I might be clipping through a few backing tracks before I get to it, because I'm actually going to be holding a live concert, live at-home concert myself on May 31st at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live. So
congratulations!
We're gonna get it all set up, and we're gonna do a couple songs off of that set list, and maybe I'll pick up the guitar and play something at some point.
Okay.
I have a bunch of acoustic songs that I've written that are on my YouTube channel, Moonwilla Magic. They're not recorded yet, but they will be eventually. So, you know, if you guys like any of the acoustic stuff that I play, you might want to keep an eye on Cloud, because there's probably going to be an acoustic album popping out in a couple years or something. We don't know. So, but yeah. All right. So let me see what I got going on here. Hopefully everything's loud enough. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Come on.
And while you wait, check out Crowley.net.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Electronics.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So it looks like my little remote here is taking crap on me. This one's called Misconception. The title track off my new album. Yeah. You can pick it up at cloudrapswitness.bandcamp.com.
Let them know, Cloud.
Yo, here we go again. Cloud here, kicking knowledge in years again. And you don't even know why when we're doing this flow, there's no use denying. Really quick, where my witches at? You got me down, follow you on this track, you know, we build up some energy. Yo, stop with your beat. Let me let the spirit go. Take a rap music, come on, do the feeling, bro. Different kind of individual, do the young, blah, blah, blah. When I change up my style, roll up in the pig and fry with fresh new ball, cock to the side. Shit, we're doing the kind of rock the bass, cuts to the crease. You know my style is unique. I'm just a wicked high voice with love for the streets. And I'm a be just who I be in eclectic with the wide range of beliefs. Speaking in for all your seekers and sages, seeking only the light, keeping the darkness in cages. Yo, my book is shadows open on my right in exchange. It feels the people so loud, they're thinking we all about saying it. When it comes to wicked, that's a close people start. Misconceptions of my craft make you wanna clap back, so I drop the new track. Yeah. My lyrics are incendiary. Let me check my itinerary. A quick lesson about the start, about the idea of the light and the dark. It's a very simple stationary. Let me know when everybody's ready. Let me tell you things you think. Think before you stop about what the masses seem about. The y'all feeling me now? Living life in balance, that's all you gotta think about. I'm only here just to plan to see that we not everybody out to follow the wicked read. I'm tired of misconceptions and witchcraft.
Let 'em know, cloud.
People gotta know what we stand.
Let 'em know, cloud.
So have of self-responsibility, self-discipline, self-development. Let 'em know, cloud. You say to go on, yo, I think it's gonna take a look at yourself. Pushing on the internal damnation, though it's just a culmination of your hatred. Can't have the light without dark, and you can't have just the dark without a spark. You see, there's a fucking balance of things, and you wouldn't be there without food. You see, let's stay back, the whole thing that we used to battle every night, and the wind to be set. So the full bringing on the night when everybody's dancing in the pale moonlight. Next day, the summer come back when whoever steps up, he kicks sets ass. This fury cash for the one he's playing in my position. Good people explained on his ridiculous self. Also, Laura's birthday was December 25th. Did your mind just shift a bit? Did I offend you, make you cry a little bit? Why don't you just try and think it for yourself? Ain't nobody watching like the Welcome Show. Like I said, there's a balance of things.
You the one that body, he the pull on your strings, right? Let 'em know, cloud.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that was fun. So I hope you liked that. Hope it sounded good. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was pretty good. That was good. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I was just hoping the vocals came through well enough.
And we're okay. And so yeah, we're looking at it. So what brought you to try to work on that type of magic, that music?
You know, it's funny. Like I've always loved hip hop, growing up and everything, and I kind of like saw it as a very underused genre within the pagan community. Now, the first song that I wrote for this album, I actually wrote as a joke for my YouTube, but it kind of like grew legs very quickly, and everybody that heard it was like, "Dude, this is awesome! You should make more of these." And I was like, "All right, fine, I'll make like 10 more." And I was joking around about it, but then I started taking it seriously, and that's when a lot of the deeper tracks on the album came out. And, you know, there was a lot of that. So here we are. Here we are with an album of pagan hip hop out. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago if I'd ever do it, I'd probably laugh at you and be like, "Yeah, right." But here we are, and you know what? I'm really happy about it. So.
Well, I don't think people in general understand the ability to basically deal with that. The idea that we do change things, we do sort of build on our energy of that, that we kind of work on ideas. I mean, all sorts of different ideas. And I think people don't understand the value of them and the idea of how we change. And taking on mainstream music, I know a lot of people are really into that. But hold on for 1 second, folks. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and let me go take care of this one piece of business.
Well, I mean, when you talk about change within the community, as things evolve, you know, if you look at where the witchcraft community is now, as opposed to where it was, you know, when I first started out in the 90s, there is a lot of different, like, ideas floating around, and like some of the more prominent ideas have been focused more on solitary witchcraft and on eclectic paths than on your more traditional paths of witchcraft. And it's kind of because of how it's grown just over time and just over what's gotten popular. But we're living at a time now where paganism in itself is more accepted than it used to be, But on top of it, there's also a trend forming around it with a lot of the younger generation. And, as a community, we could kind of help the younger generation of witches grow into their own within the craft. But the manner that they are practicing and the manner that they are communicating with one another is different, which is why these social media outlets and everything is so important, because that is where most of the younger generation of witches is kind of getting their guidance and learning from. So as we change things up
Mm-hmm.
in a manner to make things more relatable, and that's one of the things that I decided to do with this pagan hip hop idea,
Mm-hmm.
to make it more relatable to a younger generation, and maybe help guide some of the baby witches that are out there on TikTok talking about, whatever it is that they're talking about. I think eggshell magic is really big on TikTok right now, for example.
It is, and it has an old tradition. It's very interesting. I've been watching the TikTok movements, and you're starting to see communities at a larger pace than any other levels on there. We see a lot of that. 200,000 pages and groups of pagan and religion on Facebook. More than 400,000 for psychics. So when people ask me where it is, absolutely. So that's kind of what it is. Hi, Sarah. I see you there. Hi.
After our sit down,
Mm-hmm.
right, where we talked about TikTok on Coffee Led the Pagan, right?
Yeah.
That next week, I started a TikTok, and I did like a week and a half long experiment of like posting regularly and putting like tutorials up there, and then I put a couple like duds up there, and some of my music and here and that. I gained like over 160 followers in like 4 days.
Yeah.
Like it's like very, very fast, very fluid.
So it's very organic right now.
It is, and like the way it's set up, if you hashtag properly, you'll get put in front of thousands of people. Like it's really weird how TikTok's algorithm works. It definitely works a lot more fluid than like YouTube's does, for example, or that. So, it's definitely a venue, an area that we could explore to be able to kind of communicate with the younger generation and, like I said, bridge the gap.
Oh, sure. So for those who don't know TikTok, TikTok, it's an app that's on the phone. It's a pure phone app. It's not you don't do it off your desktop.
Yep.
And it creates 15-second to 1-minute videos that you can do it. It comes out of the Musicify, which was originally a karaoke idea
Yep.
online, and the idea of doing more and more music online was kind of fascinating, and the ability to do so. And I'm so content with that, and so pleased with that. That it came out of there. And then basically you can do dances, you can do all sorts of things. It was really known for dances, but I think it's in the phase of the 7 is the 4 the idea of 420 characters that were once on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or 140 characters on just 440 characters on tweets. We had real restrictions in the beginning because of data and things of that nature. And now today, it evolved into where you now have full-fledged broadcasting studios over the platforms of Facebook. You have Periscope, and you can convey a lot more information today. So I think TikTok goes that way. But its algorithm looks very similar to, this way it works. Young people find things, it's a lot of fun, and they move on. And also, there's Discord. There's a lot of communication tools.
Yeah.
And I get kind of mad when people say, oh, there's no way to communicate with our community. Of course there is. Lots of ways.
Well, there are so many platforms that didn't exist so long ago. Like when I was like 15 back in like 1995, and I was reading books on solitary witchcraft and everything, it wasn't like it wasn't a whole lot accepted as it is now. And coming across a coven or a guide for somebody to be able to teach you in like a year and a day setting or anything like that, like if you lived in the wrong area, you weren't going to find anybody. You were on your own, you know? And I wouldn't say I didn't find a coven until I'd already been in and out of the military back home, you know?
Right.
Like, so, I mean, I spent probably the first 8 years just kind of swimming around, learning whatever I can, and without any like formal, traditional witchcraft classes.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can get that online just by running a search real quick and click it and make it a little page. You know, like I signed up for witch school so that I can study the Corellian tradition a little bit. I've never studied it before, but I said, I'll study the Corellian tradition, see how I feel about it. You know, I signed up for it. Now I'm a little behind on the classes, but you know, like of course I just put an album out. And, you know, I'm doing a lot of running around and all that, but like it's very interesting to be able to do that kind of schooling online and then still get your practical classes through vlogs and stuff like what Rev Don does. You know, so it's like, you know, it's really cool how it's all set up nowadays to where somebody wants to learn witchcraft can. You know, it wasn't the case back in the day.
Oh no, of course not. And it's one of the things I think people understand is it's getting simpler and simpler. Now, Witch School's been around since September 4th, 2001, formally November 11th, 1998 as a daily spell. So we've kind of seen it grow and expand. And now we're the ability to be broadcasting and bring in a larger amount of entertainment and information. Like we're going to be doing seances. Yeah, we're going to try online seances. We're doing, yeah, that's amazing. And we're going to be trying to do now psychic readings. We're doing more and more online that people feel like, you know, people don't understand that cyberspace is for me, cyberspace is the same as psychic space. I say it all the time. So we're building on, expanding on our concepts of building in psychic space and cyberspace and everything else. And just to remind you, so you guys can get readings, so go to Corellian.net, pick your readers, and we will work with you to get your readings as fast as we can.
Absolutely. And I have my own little reminder that I want to put out there. Yeah. Like I'm going to be putting a couple songs out here. I'm going to do, you know, a couple more while we're talking here. And I just want to say that anybody that goes onto my Bandcamp site and makes a purchase for this, while this fair is going on, I decided to jump in on this donation side of things as well. Mm-hmm. And any of my album sales that I get throughout this weekend, I'm going to be donating to my local South Jersey Pagan Pride chapter. So that way we can put some of that towards our main event later in the year if we're allowed to have it. And, you know, one of our fundraising events that we had was already canceled. So we try to do what I can, do my part to help out with that. So, you know, any album sales that I get, we're going to be making donations that way on my end.
Absolutely. See, and good. I mean, I think that's an important aspect. I think that's important to, you know, the community. We're so people, they've heard me mention my things. We're so undercapitalized at some levels. I always talk about that. And I mean that in a broader sense. We're pretty undercapitalized. And what I mean is that we don't have as much money. We have to do more with less. We just do. And so we find out all sorts of ways, and we're good at it as a community. I know that we really do work really hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's not easy, you know, juggling all the balls that keep falling into your lap, you know, when you're trying to organize things and keep everything going the way that it's been, especially the way costs rise and everything. Like, so you have to find a way, because when you're running a server, as it grows, you need more of this, and it becomes more expensive. And there's like so much that goes into it. You know, so I definitely feel your pain on that side of things. That's why events like this, fundraising events like this, are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, I think for us on most of the time, and I've said it to other people, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have very good friends. I have a lot of people who are willing to take risks with me over the years. We've been able to do so. We have a good tradition that's been kind of realistic about these things, and we've been building. So so the systems I've built, I think more so than a lot of people, I don't like the term social distance. I really don't. But we've have had physical distance. So I've always worked with the fact of having a deal of creating social space at physical distances.
Yeah.
There's
All
a
right.
bit of a difference in that.
Yeah, I'll pick it up what you're putting down.
So we have this sort of physical, so we really are dealing, so we're masters of dealing with physical distance of trying to teach and create social space so you feel less distant.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think people misunderstand. So when they're talking about social distance all the time, they overstepped on a word that I used to use for, saying, hey, there's physical distance between us, but we're trying to make it so we can be as social as possible, to the point of doing shows like this where we're literally hundreds of miles away from each other. And then we're traveling and people are learning all over the space.
Yeah.
Did you want to perform something else for us? I mean,
You know what? I think we are.
Okay, good.
I think we're going to do community.
Okay, I like that one.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do here.
I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm not sure.
Cue it up. Got to get my remote back in order here. It's being a butthole.
Oh, I hear ya. Yeah, that's one thing I think we're gonna find in the future of history is the amount of space and time we spend on directing the absolutely fantastic power of having to have electricity all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be part of the world if the grid went down. I'd be all right. I'd be able to figure it out, and there'd be a lot of other people that can't. So
Oh, listen, I'm not gonna kid you. I'm completely dependent on electricity.
well, we all are in a way,
Yeah.
We gotta work again. I gotta get a new battery. There we go. Would have been much easier if we would have. So this is a song that I wrote. It's meant to bring the community together. So I figured it fits with this telephone. So fly around the sun on this giant blue sphere. Life's a celebration, so we spread a little cheer. Share the love and don't hold no fear. We're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. Sound in the big bond and all the in between. Open your mind, don't you ever forget. Don't worry about the past, just sit right here. We're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. Sometimes I stop and think where I'm fitting this life, what it means to me. Contemplating how things are what it's bring. So I'm asking myself, what am I offering? The God's given me so much, you see. And I'm cool into what we're going to do for me. We're all in this run together, so we really should be happy. Flying around the sun on this giant blue sphere. Life's a celebration, so we spread a little cheer. And share the love and don't hold no fear. Cause we're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. Sound in the big bond and all the in between. Open your mind, don't you everything. Don't worry about the past, don't sit right here. We're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. Looking back a long time, as a young bitch, learning about the divide. From rich to poor, reasons trying to find my God. Know I had it rough, but eventually I found it good. It's not about whose path is better than whose path and what degree that you got from what class. It's about how we don't have a chance. Shit, man. If you really take the time to learn, don't tell the teacher for a year at any term. Try to learn about the sun and land. How to use power in your hands. Being in the company of a solo practitioner. I'm feeling that taking up from Mother Earth. Don't ever do and choose to believe. Maybe not talking. That shit's ice cream. Flying around the sun on this giant blue sphere. Life's a celebration, so we spread a little cheer. Share the love, don't hold no fear. Cause we're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. Sound in the big bond and all the in between. Open your mind, don't you everything. Don't worry about the past, just sit right here. We're all just spinning on the wheel of the year.
pagans and stop the hate. Let us do this beat, try to educate. Yo, we can't be bad for their ignorance. System give them their chance. We gotta come together as a community. If we want to be true, what we believe. Keep moving with the free will. And a heart not to what he will. Fly around the sun on this giant blue sphere. Place to celebrate, so let's spread a little share. Share the love, don't move from here. Cause we're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. The sound with the big bond on the in between. Your mind ups your everything. But don't worry about the dance, don't slip right here. We're all just spinning on the wheel of the year. With the shoe, it's over. We're put this together, guys. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs of the album.
That's terrific.
Yeah, that song's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. I mean, so we'll get back after the festivals, go out and check them out live. Do all of that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're very excited about those sort of ideas and those sort of things. We're really enjoying on that sort of thing. Sarah, are you there?
Hey.
Sarah.
I have to say it is refreshing to see like pagan and witchcraft oriented music that doesn't remind me of 1960s folk rock. So what you're doing, it is not a style that is ever going to be my favorite, but it is very refreshing to hear your music compared to so much of the other music put out by pagan artists. And I really love what you're doing.
Well, I really, 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 really appreciate that. I do. And it's something like I love pagan music for what it is. Pagan inspired, meant a lot of it's meant to raise energy or to help with meditation. A lot of it is meant in to give thanks to the divine, or to be dedication songs for themselves within their craft or however they believe, whatever deities and however it works. I love it, but it has become kind of shoeboxed into its own little genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that there are so many other pagans out there who are doing different kinds of music. So I really appreciate your words and realizing that, because that was definitely one of the goals that I had when I was kind of coming up with this idea. So it's super awesome of you. And thank you very much.
Well, I think you're definitely stepping outside of that box. And I hope that more artists attempt that. Several years ago, I stumbled across and really enjoyed an artist who invented this electronica version of Hare Krishna Kirtan.
Yeah,
and called it Kirtronica. And it was awesome. And I loved it, but she only put out one CD of it. And I'm like, wait, where'd it go? This budding new genre just went poof already.
Yeah, if there's a genre of music, it's out there. It's just really hard to find. Like, I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop. I also played in hardcore metal bands and a lot of heavy metal punk bands and everything. And if you run a search, you can find polka infused punk rock. It's just really however you want to combine what it is that you're doing. Moving forward in my artistic ideas, I still plan on remaining with hip hop, but I am going to start adding some live instruments and some drumming and things like that to kind of bring everything together and expand more musically. And that's kind of what the goal is moving forward for me after this album. But the album's been out a month now, so we're going to see where that goes first. But yeah, I really, really, really enjoy the whole process of creating the hip hop songs and then turning around and putting a pagan spin on it. It's something that, because a lot of the things about hip hop and a lot of the reasons on why I think a lot of pagans don't like hip hop is because of the content behind those hip hop. You know, it's about the streets or about drugs or about violence or about this or about that. And a lot of pagans don't know that life. They don't live that life. So how can you relate to that? You know? So that was kind of my goal, is to make something relatable for the pagan community. But within this genre, it's just kind of, I guess, as like Nightshade from Flatline to Beatline puts it, to break through the noise, you know? Like, it's definitely something that I feel strongly about. So I really appreciate you, saying those words to me. It means a lot. Made my day, actually.
Aw. Happy to make somebody's day.
That means.
On the topic of song lyrics, not to go down too dark a rabbit hole, because this pertains to a funeral service, but my family is sort of an odd mix of religions. And so at this small graveside service for my grandmother on my dad's side, and she was like the head of the interfaith committee for her church. All right, so diversity was something she was very, very into. The four of us were pagan. One agnostic, a Quaker, and two Unitarians at the service. Well,
quite a motley crew there.
Yeah, big hodgepodge, but all fairly like inclusive and more liberal-leaning faiths. Well, the funeral director was trying to, the clergy person who was supposed to be handling it was ill and had to bow out. So we were making last minute alternative arrangements, and I ended up doing the service myself. But the funeral director hands me this piece of paper, and it's that two sets of footsteps in the sand song.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very Christian-y, and this person is very devout in his beliefs, but his beliefs don't line up with anybody in attendance at this service. So I'm like, he means well. I don't want to step on his toes, but I also don't want to offend everybody.
Right?
Including my grandmother, who this is a service for, who would not have appreciated this gesture. So I'm standing there making up pagan-friendly / generically spiritual reworking of these song lyrics. And then I read it, and I changed I ended up changing it so that all the reference to looking back at like their footsteps and the footsteps of God said, and when I look behind me, I see the many sets of footsteps of all those who've gone before. And it worked, and I got a lot of compliments for it. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if somebody sang this?
Yeah.
Like sang this version of it? But I don't know. Like I just kind of abandoned the project, and it never went anywhere.
It's funny, on my YouTube channel, Moonwillow Magic, I started out, and actually this hip hop album started out from this idea where I was doing this project called the Wicked Music Experiment, right? And I wrote, I want to say 3 or 4 songs that were pagan inspired that sound like Christian rock. And I was going for that, and I was also writing music within different genres. Like I wrote a punk rock song, a blues song, and all with like Wiccan ideas. And like the blues song I actually played it live at South Jersey Pagan Pride last year. I did an acoustic set there, and I played this blues song. I named it the Bible Thumping Blues, right?
That's fantastic right there.
It killed. It killed there. Like everybody, like every time I finished a lyric, I heard people laughing, and I was like, this is awesome. But I don't have like the proper recording equipment right now to like put a really good copy of that down, so it's not recorded yet. But so that's something that, as you're talking about like rewriting the lyrics to that, like that is the kind of ideas that I like to do musically and artistically anyway. Like, yeah, I'm doing this hip hop thing, but on the side, I'm still writing this music with live instruments and everything that's not hip hop. And I'm focusing on these different ideas, very similar to how you put it. So it's pretty awesome. Great minds and all. So, but yeah, I gotta say, it's really awesome to be like a part of this fair here. It's what brings you to the fair?
I gotta blame Ed for that.
Gotta blame Ed. I gotta blame Ed for doing this too. So.
I met him at the psychic fair in Salem, Massachusetts last October, and we just started like coordinating. It seemed like we were on the same page for a lot of different things, and then he had the idea for this virtual psychic fair, and I'm like, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah. So are you reading?
Yeah. I signed up to be one of the readers, doing a seance Saturday night. I intended to like try to teach a workshop or something, but I've had so much going on. I'm literally sitting here filling out paperwork to try to modify the some of the stuff pertaining to my divorce from a couple years ago.
Oh. That's
So
freedom.
things have been complicated lately, but I'm hoping that this just turns into a huge success and it proves that this type of event can be run in cyberspace.
Yeah. And I think that we're well on our way to getting that done. If not, we're going to get very valuable data to be able to look back on and see what we can change if it doesn't work out all that great, and it's one of those things. And I know you were talking about the divorce and all that. Well, through these hard times and everything, you probably know just as well as I do, through the hard times that we deal with, that is what gives us that wisdom and experience, that kind of, that like sage advice to be able to be handed down, So somebody else, in your flock later in life ends up having a similar situation, you'll be able to relate with that and talk about the experiences with them, talk them through it. And, so it's definitely a matter of perspective on how we all look at that. So I applaud you for sticking it out and hanging out and moving forward and getting out of there, Absolutely.
In hindsight, I focused too hard on keeping the divorce copacetic and not hard enough on fighting for specific things that have turned out to be important a ways into the future.
Right.
So, I don't anticipate ever having to go through this again. But if I ever find myself going through another divorce, I know to be meaner. It's like I was trying to just like get it done as quickly and smoothly, and unselfishly as possible. Make it
You
make
gotta
it
do
easy
it
on
right.
everyone.
Listen,
Yeah,
you gotta
and
take care of yourself
it's
first.
backfired.
You gotta take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you gonna be able to help take care of anyone else? Especially if you're like, if you're reading, for example, like having a lot on your mind can cloud your mind. It can mess with your energy. It can mess with your readings. There's a lot to it. So making sure you take care of yourself is very important.
I found that instead of it causing interference in an individual readings, it does tend to energetically shift the type of client attracted to me and the nature of the questions they're asking. And I'll end up seeing a mirror between what's going on in my life and the types of things that the reading clients are coming to me asking about in their lives. And I'll gain insight into my own situation from what the cards are advising the clients to do. And I'll be like, oh, hey, I need to listen to that too.
Yeah, like I need to follow my own advice here, right? It's definitely important. Oh, getting a lot of messages. But yeah, so I want to go back to the idea of rewriting those lyrics, like you said you did, right?
Yeah.
That is something that I think we could all use as a community. Similar ideas to that, like expanding upon what kind of music and what kind of entertainment that we provide to the pagan community as pagans is going to also help normalize it for the non-magical community out there, so that there would be less pushback, when we do things. It's one of those things that, like for example, Hollywood has still yet to make a movie where they get a pagan character remotely close to correct, on how they carry themselves or how they would look at a certain situation that arises, things like that, or things that people deal with daily in life being pagan, which is why, I really talked a lot about that side of pagan life on my album, because I grew up through that, and a lot of people, like when I like full on came out of the broom closet and all of that, they came out and it was like, dude, what the hell, yada yada yada, giving me a bunch of crap for saying I'm a witch. But then as soon as something spiritual happens in their life,
Yep.
hey, do you read my cards? Hey man, something's going on in my house. Can you come and check it out? And it's like, all right, dude, you like totally clowned me for like 2 years when I came out and said I was a witch. Now here you are, like, dude, can you come help me with this?
Yep.
It's,
Same.
It's one of those things that, we all know that witchcraft is a practice. It is something that we put years into, working on our psychic senses to be able to do readings and stuff like that. Or if it's, simply learning herbalism, how to make salves and tinctures and things like that. It's not, but what is convenient for people, it's accepted. So as our community, as we grow, if we can create more forms of entertainment on a broader horizon, then I honestly think that it'll help kind of normalize what we do within the thing. I just repeated myself. But
Repetition is the master of understanding.
yeah, you're right.
You repeat yourself for various things. So that we're out here, so we're out here every day. So wow, you just caught me trying to set up a reading for Star Ravenhawk. When somebody's bought a reading for her, so we're trying to set that up. And remember, today you can go out and get readings. Sarah Wilds is available to us, and she's doing a seance on Saturday night on Electronica.
Yes.
So you go to Krellian.net, look her up, or look on the workshops and join it there. And she has a seance. Only 1 or 2 seances are being held. People have been asking for them a lot, so we're in there. Especially this time when a lot of people are feeling the dead are disquieted. The dead this year, I think, have been disquieted more than any other year. I think they say pandemic, but I think they were. So Sarah can speak to this, but we knew they were stirring way back at Samhain when we had the Mercury retrograde close to the holiday.
Yeah, I can't wait to get up to Salem. I've yet to make the trip up there, and I only live like 6 hours away from there, like 5-6 hours away from there. I've just never had a chance to get up there. So
under 6 hours is more travel than it sounds like.
yeah,
I used to commute every 2 weeks between where my parents were in Southern Illinois up to Chicago, and doing that 6-hour trek every couple weeks with it. It made me appreciate just how far that distance was.
Yeah. I lived in North Carolina for a little bit. I'm from New Jersey, and I lived in North Carolina for a little bit. And we would come up every 2 weeks to like once a month and just see the family, see my daughter, and it was a lot, when you're looking at an 8-hour drive every 2-3 weeks. I definitely get where you're coming from there, that's for sure. But yeah, I was actually supposed to go in March. My wife and I were going to go up there, spend our 10-year anniversary up there, and hit all the sites and do all that. And then pandemic. So, we had it rescheduled for like September, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to go then either. Who knows? Just kind of playing it by ear at this point.
Depends on how long it takes for all this pandemic stuff to blow over and what the rules are at that time. But hopefully you do get to go.
Absolutely.
I'm there pretty much every fall. But I have done everything from being up there doing readings to taking small tour groups. From the time I was really young, lecturing on the witch trial history, because my parents named me after our ancestor who was a victim of the trials, and my dad has the trial transcripts. So we know the history, and I still remember the spiel my parents coached me on when they'd like have me give a talk to the local elementary school and whatnot. And I really enjoy Salem. It's one of the only places in the country that really embraces openly being a witch. But at the same time, you get a lot of the witchcraft equivalent of Christians, like the people who go to church on Christmas and Easter. So you get like the pagan and witchcraft community's version of the superficial witch who goes to Salem to do the like witchcraft tourist thing, and then they go back to their like nice, comfortably mainstream lives and their broom closet door again.
I have a little term that I've come up with this that we throw around like comment as a joke. So we call it, you can be a pagan or you can be a plagan. To learn where you are playing the role and not really living the life and embracing the life, but you're more along the lines of it being an aesthetic for you know? And there's a lot of that. And I'm sure Salem's full of it. Because that's like the spot, you know?
I have to laugh because to an extent, I enjoy the aesthetic witch like style. I really do. Back long before that was a thing, people described my personal style as a goth-edged country girl. But that goth-edged country look is very similar to what witch aesthetic has grown out of. So what I was wearing in the 90s, fast forward to the 2010s and now 2020, suddenly that's witch aesthetic. Yeah. And last year, as I was walking from one of the parking areas towards City Mall for the psychic fair, there was one of the like witch tour guide walking tours stopped, and they're in their spiel and they're debunking misconceptions about how real witches dress, and they're going on about how real witches don't dress fancy all the time, don't wear this, don't wear that, points at me and says, we don't dress like that. And I'm like, excuse me?
I mean, see, that's one of the things, like, and that person probably didn't know you from Adam, Yeah. And had no idea that you were, about to go and read at the fair or anything like that. And
I'm like wearing my badge too, my like license badge thing for the fair, and I'm like,
yeah,
all right.
And, like a lot of people, especially if they're going to go to a fair, they're going to go to Pagan Pride, they're going to wear that aesthetic because that's what they want to wear to that event. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. See, I'm different personally, but that's because I'm me. Like, I'm pretty wide of a person, Like, I pretty much go everywhere in a hoodie and a hat. Like, I don't have an aesthetic or anything like that. Like I have a few tattoos, you know what I mean? But nothing like crazy, like I'm not this like goth guy or whatever, and nor am I this like hip hop rapper like, yo, what up, y'all? Like it's kind of funny because I don't fit that witch aesthetic at all. So like people give me weird looks when I show up to festivals a lot, and people will be like, "What's that guy doing here?" And here I am showing up in like a basketball jersey and a hat or something, with a pentacle on. Everybody's like, "Wait, what the hell?"
And what got my goat about it more than anything was the fact that this tour guide is saying all this stuff while wearing a Halloween witch costume.
Yep, that sounds about right. That sounds about par for the course, right there.
That's like pure Salem right there.
Yeah, you just painted a very clear picture for me. I appreciate that. So,
So good. We've been out there. So so why don't we go ahead and finish up? We're going to end this a little bit so I can catch up on my paperwork and people out there.
All right.
Why don't you do a final piece for us, if you don't mind?
Right, so you guys, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Do you guys want me to play an acoustic song, or do you want me to do another rap track?
Well, acoustic sounds fun. We're going to challenge you.
All right,
acoustic rap.
Oh no, it's not gonna be rap. We're gonna sing for this one. Hopefully, it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here is to hoping that this doesn't suck. All right. It's been a while since I played any of these songs, since I've been focusing on this hip hop stuff. But you can find my acoustic music on Moon of Magic on YouTube. That is the only place it is available right now until further notice. So let us get ourselves a little loud, little pitchy. All right, so this is one of the pagan-inspired songs that I wrote that sounds like it could be a Christian rock song. Just to show you guys the kind of ideas that I'm doing musically outside of the hip hop of what I'm doing. So this one's called My Ritual. It's my mother I invoke thee. You mean so much to me. You took the time to work with me. Circle round, and I spell my peace and now. Goddess, please join me in my ritual. Oh, join me in my ritual. Show me in my ritual.
And thank you very much.
Yeah, I haven't played that in a while. Goodness. It's actually good to play that again. Thank you very much, guys.
There you go. Thank you very much for being here with us. So great. I'm going to be basically, so thank you. So this is part of the Chicago. Wow. That shows a lot of past baggage. I'm in Florida. So the Carolina Education Ministry, we're going to continue on through the day. You can join us. And if you look down below, if you're in the Witch School International page, we've shown you the VIP room, how to get into basically the lounge, which continues on. And we'll be back on the air with more broadcasting shortly.
All right. Thank you guys so much. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And definitely for those of you out there who caught this, feel free to check me out, cloudrapswicked.bandcamp.com, and you can give my album a full listen. All right. But I'm going to be back on here a couple more times throughout the course of this fair. So, I'm really looking forward to talking with everybody again.
And if you have questions, put them down below. We're going to gather up
Absolutely.
questions and start asking. And I think as we get into the more of the, I'm almost close to having control over everything. Never say that too loud because Eris doesn't like it. Yeah. All right. I hear you. So people, I want to make sure everybody's well served. And so, yeah, we're going to be that. So this is us working on the psychic fair. Get a reading. We got lots of people to do readings for you all through the weekend. We're going to show our tote board here soon. People have actually liked the tote board. We're going to get more information on that, how well that's doing here shortly. We're going to show that in the next time. And we'll be back within about, I'm hoping to be back on here on about 5 o'clock. And we'll come out with another report and update and with more great people. And tomorrow we'll have Rich back on. I think, what is it, 2 o'clock?
Yeah, if that works for you.
And if not beforehand, and I hope to have Sarah on and more people on later. So, well, we're going to end this broadcast, and we will start again on same sort of channel later.
All right, sounds good. See you then, guys.
See ya.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
And Sarah, I want to mention, and you're going to come up with you're doing real shortly here. You're doing a tomorrow. Is that Saturday? It is tomorrow.
Saturday is tomorrow, I think, unless I'm temporarily out of sorts more than usual.
And you'll be having a seance there, so check it out. And and if you guys want to, there's the lounge where people are hanging out and talking, and you can enjoy that. And we'll be back with more broadcasting talking about the psychic fair here shortly.
Okay.